It's April. David Buster's month continues. We've got your chance to win a $250 gift card from Dave & Buster's to watch the NBA and NHL playoffs and more. Go to WQAM.com and enter on the contest page. If you win, you can go to Dave & Buster's with your gift card and have a party all on us and Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, watch sports at Dave & Buster's in Hollywood. You guys know we love the fight game here on this show. Leroy and I were just at UFC 287. We had watched that incredible card. We've been to everything there is to be down here. We've been to bare knuckle. We've been to the regional MMA game, the regional boxing scene. So I think if you're fans of us, you guys are also fans of fighting. And coming up on Friday, you got yourself a little action as BKFC is making its return to the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. And a little bit of a weird scenario because this is a card that got pushed back a month. It was supposed to be in Delray Beach. So we have the president joining us here, David Feldman. Talked to David many a times. We've had him in studio before. Great guy. Mm-hmm. And he joins us here on the Toyota of Hollywood guest line. Shop over 1,500 Toyotas indoors in one of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. David, good morning. How are you? How's everything going today?
What's going on, my man? Everything's going great, Brandon.
How are things, man? Like, let me ask you this. That was kind of a crazy thing. I follow a lot of the fighters who are on this card. I follow them on social media. And so you guys were supposed to have this card like a month ago on, I think, St. Patrick's Day it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it just got yanked out on you guys on 24 hours notice. Like, what the hell happened? Because I saw fighters were like cutting weight and getting ready. They all expected to fight. And they just pulled the rug out from under you. What went on there?
It was so crazy, man. We had a contract with the venue. It was a city-owned venue. We drive our production trucks in the day before to start unloading the lights and the cameras and everything to get set up. And they tell us that the city canceled the event on us. So we go back and we talk to them. And, I actually talked to the mayor, nice lady, and she kind of said, listen, I'm for it. So I said, okay. So I went back to the city manager and I said, I got the mayor's okay. I don't understand. I have a signed contract. He's like, I don't like bare knuckle. I don't like what you're doing. You're not doing a fight in my city. And I said, well, I got the mayor's okay. And he said, it doesn't matter what the mayor says. This is my city and you're not doing a fight. And he threw us out. So,
wow.
Needless to say, we're in the midst of filing a major lawsuit against them just because it's a bad look for us. Like it almost looks like we don't have our stuff together.
Right.
We had the place completely sold out. Everything was looking great for us, and it was going to be a phenomenal event. But one of them things, and so we move it to our second home in Florida is the Hard Rock Seminole. It's going to be another packed house, another great night of fights. So we're happy where we are. It just sucks that we had to go through that stuff with them.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that. I've never heard anything.
I've been to fights at that venue before. I've been to boxing matches there. Like, how much is that annoying that you're still dealing with the bare knuckle stigma? Because like it's blown up. You guys have two former UFC guys coming up next week in Colorado, and to see that you're still like, are you surprised you're still dealing with stuff like that?
Yeah, man. Like, I'm not surprised if we get, some people are still a little hesitant up front, but I mean, a day before, like we were literally knocking on the door, like let us in to unload, to set up for this event. All the fighters were there. All the staff was there. I mean, it was a significant loss for us. We're not getting that money back no matter, because we postponed the event, doesn't matter. We still paid the fighters. We still paid everything else. We're not getting the money back. So, it sucks for us as a growing company as we're trying to, watch everything that we're spending. But at the end of the day it's just another speed bump in the road for us. And we feel like it's a road to success. And, it's just another thing that we got to deal with, man.
No, yeah. Well, coming up on Friday, if you guys want to go out to the Hard Rock, you got yourself Dat Nguyen taking on Daniel Strauss, former Bellator champ. So a hell of a headliner that you got coming up there. How excited are you for this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a great night of fights. Anytime we go to the Hard Rock, we have great fights there. The crowd gets into it. It's going to be another packed house there, which is great. Look, we had to cancel the event, and we still turned it around, and we'll have another sold out house at the Hard Rock Casino. So it's going to be a tremendous event. Dat Nguyen versus former two-time Bellator champ Daniel Strauss. It's going to be a big test for both guys. And then the co-main event is local upcoming star Jake Bostic's going to be taking on former title challenger Isaac Doolittle, and then a stacked undercard. So we're excited about the event, and it's going to be this Friday night at Hard Rock Seminole. Doors open at 6:00. First fight is at 7:30.
I'm a big fan of Jake because, like people say this with Mike Perry, like he looks like if you were going to cast a bare knuckle fighter, it'd be Mike Perry. But like Jake Boswick's really like if you were to cast somebody, like tattoos all over the place, British, absolute badass. I think it was at his fight one time when there was a sudden death. Like you guys did a sudden death fight one time. It was a crazy thing. Like you guys just had to like figure out how are we going to pick out the winner. So the dude's like an absolute badass for those who like who are excited for guys on the local scene. But he lives down here, so. But like he just has he's been fighting, but like some guys just find a home, David, in your sport. It's one of the things that I love about it. Like they've been in their paths of combat sports, but there is a different mix to bare knuckle.
No, there is. Look, we call it the great common ground. It's you might have a boxer that's tough, but he's not real slick. He doesn't move well. He's one of them kind of guys. Or you have an MMA fighter that's a great grappler, but he can't stand up and bang. And this is the sport for the guys, for a lot of the guys and girls that are looking for a place, man, and this is where they find their home. But it's like I said, it's a growing sport, fastest growing sport in the world. We have second most views of any other combat sport in the entire world except for the UFC. So we're only second to the UFC now in viewership. We're growing tremendously. We've only been in business for 4.5 years. We've probably done 30 or 40% of our fights in the South Florida area. So it's become a second home for us. And as you mentioned, next week we have 2 former UFC world champions headlining our card. Luke Rockhold will be taking on Florida boy Mike Perry, former UFC contender, and former UFC champion Eddie Alvarez will be taking on Chad Mendes. A tremendous doubleheader for our biggest event we've ever done.
David, you were you had some quotes recently. I only saw the headlines of it, but like you had said that you had kind of gotten to the Francis Ngannou game. You inquired about seeing what Francis Ngannou was looking for, and you had said that he was looking for like a crazy number. What were those talks like? And like just as a guy who's in the fight game, where do you think he ultimately ends up? Where does the Francis Ngannou journey go now that he's not in the UFC?
I mean, for the kind of money he's asking, he has to end up in boxing for a super fight somewhere, or he's not going to get the kind of money that he's asking for. Look, tremendous athlete, great name, but at the end of the day, it's like, you outprice yourself, and you outprice yourself, and you outprice yourself with all these different organizations, and it's hard to find a home. I think he ends up either in boxing, or I do think PFL has a chance of picking him up, but that could be probably the only 2 places. Dana White came out, I think yesterday or the day before, and said he's never coming back to the UFC. So he's burning bridges, and it's a shame.
What do you? I'm a firm believer. If the fight's big enough, then somebody will dump some water on those bridges and they'll mend.
I agree 100%. But look, I mean, he was offered a significant payday, like an unbelievable payday, and he turned it down because he said he wanted these other things for fighters, which he may have. But at the end of the day, he's a professional athlete, and he has to do his thing and make his money and go out there and fight. Because look, as you get older, and the fight game's the hardest game in the world to get old in, right? And as you get older and climb up that ladder, it's hard to compete when you stay inactive for so long.
Right.
What is the thing like you look for from the guys who do come over for the UFC? Like Luke Rockhold, Mike Perry, they come in there. Luke's a former champion. What are they looking for from you? Is it just like is it an extension? Is it looking for more sponsorship? Like when you try and negotiate with these guys, what are the things they are most looking for when they come to you?
I mean, we pay very, very aggressively for the big names. We're doing that. We're giving them sponsorship. We're giving them an opportunity to really catapult. People, it's funny because Chael Sonnen did something, and he said that look, if Luke Rockhold fought Mike Perry in Bellator or PFL, nobody would care. But then he's fighting him in bare knuckle. Everybody's eyes are open, like, wow, this is crazy. So I think that their namesake and the notoriety really, really spikes when they fight bare knuckle because of the wow factor.
Before we get you out of here, David, you guys go check out BKFC 38. It's coming up on Friday at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Get your tickets at bareknuckle.tv. You guys can watch it there as well. Should be a hell of a show. I saw Luis Palomino was throwing out the first pitch of the Marlins game this week. And he's one of, I think, your great success stories, David, because like this guy's now almost coming up on 3 years as champ. what an incredible thing that this guy has had this long reign. Do you think he's ever going to drop the belt? Like when is somebody going to catch up to this guy?
The next fight's a really, really tough fight. He's going to Las Cruces, New Mexico to fight two-time world champion who beat Miguel Cotto and had a war against Canelo Alvarez, Austin Trout. So he's going to fight Austin Trout in Austin Trout's hometown. So that's going to be a tough one for him. If he gets by that, I'm probably going to say, Brendan, man, I really don't know who's going to beat him. But he learned bare knuckle very, very well. He's a great company guy. You know, he talks good about the sport. He talks good about everything we're doing. He convinces other guys to fight here. So he's a great champion for us. And, you know, we love working with Luis, and it was awesome. I called him up though yesterday, probably an hour before he threw the pitch, and I said, "If you dribble that ball in the home plate, I'm stripping you your titles."
That's probably why I went high. I saw in the video. That's probably why I went with that way. So it was probably good advice from you,
David. For a novice, you know, I know a lot about it, but not like you guys. What is the one skill that a bare knuckles guy would have that you might not find in, say, boxing or MMA or UFC or any of the other leagues? There has to be a skill that enables him to be successful in bare knuckles. What is it?
You know, it's really a scientific sport. Like, we call boxing the sweet science, and in a lot of my interviews I call it the sweetest science, because you have to pick your shots. You have to really be able to be calculated and find where those shots can land without being reckless and taking a chance of breaking your hand or taking a chance of getting an injury. So I think you really got to be able to think very, very well, and obviously you just got to be a really tough dude. Like, this isn't for everybody. It's not for everybody. I mean, I don't care if you're a former boxing world champion or a former UFC world champion. It's not for everybody. It's different when you get hit with those bare knuckles. So, I think between those two, you got to be really smart, and you have to be really tough.
David, appreciate the time, man. Good luck with the event on Friday.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks, David.
There you go. David Feldman, president of BKFC.
Like, when we go and watch it, like, unlike the other sports in the fight game, you ain't just throwing fists willy-nilly, right? You careful.
Yeah.
And so it has to be some kind of even more of a plan or a skill set to be able to pick your punches carefully, because you could break your hand.
Listen, as a journalist and a former member of the bare knuckle voting association, I will say, listen, experience matters. It does. Like, you don't think, like, anytime, like, if you told me Luke Rockhold, Mike Perry, like, I'm like, oh, who has experience in bare knuckle? Oh, Mike Perry does. I think he'll probably smoke Luke Rockhold next week. Like, you do have to be in there because it is a little different. It just is, and it's like it's kind of like a calculated aggression, because you can't stay back the whole time and box. Because it's not boxing. Like, you can, like, go in the clinch and hit shots like that. So, what can you say? But listen,
but I think a lot of people associate bare knuckles with blood, and like, it's just
it can get bloody because the cuts are bad. The cuts are bad. It's not the concussions, it's the cuts.
Right. Like,
that's the thing that because it's just bone, it's skin and bone. Like, that certainly is a thing. Like, if Nate Diaz ever went there, forget it. Gushers.
Oh my goodness, the first glance, he's bleeding.
Take a break. Final hour of the show. We got Damage Is Done coming up. We'll get back into the heat.